Paralyzed bully's priceless reaction to his new wheelchair. You'll cry and smile at the same time. He couldn't walk, not a single step. When the vet first told Megan that, she sat in that cold examination room and just stared at the wall. Because in her arms was a massive, slobbery, completely ridiculous American bully named Tank, and he was looking up at her like nothing in the world was wrong. That look, that absolute trust in his big brown eyes, that's what broke her open. If you're new here and stories like this are what you live for, hit that subscribe button right now. We find these dogs, we tell their stories, and we never stop. Tank was found on the side of a rural highway in Tennessee. Nobody knows exactly what happened. A car, maybe? Or maybe he was born with a spinal condition that went untreated for too long. By the time a good Samaritan spotted him dragging his back legs through the gravel, he had already been out there for days. Dehydrated, covered in road rash, but still wagging that thick, powerful tail. He was rushed to an emergency vet clinic, and that's where Megan first saw him. She volunteers for a special needs rescue called Brave Paws, and when the clinic called her saying they had a paralyzed bully that nobody wanted to take in, she didn't even hesitate. "I'll be there in 20 minutes, she said, and that was that. Tank moved into her home, a warm, slightly chaotic place full of dog beds, squeaky toys, and the permanent smell of kibble, and he fit right in like he'd always been there. From day one, his personality was enormous, loud, demanding, deeply, aggressively affectionate. He would nudge your hand with his giant square head until you pet him, and if you stopped too soon, he'd nudge harder. But he couldn't stand up. He couldn't run. He couldn't do what bullies are born to do: bounce around, lean into your legs, plant themselves on your feet like living boulders of love. And you could see it sometimes. In quiet moments, he'd watch the other dogs zoom past him in the yard, and there'd be this brief flicker in his eyes. Not quite sadness, more like longing. Megan saw it every time, and she refused to accept it. She started researching custom mobility carts for large breed dogs. Most companies don't build for dogs Tank's size, 83 pounds of pure American bully muscle, but she found a small workshop in Colorado that specialized in exactly this. She sent them Tank's measurements, his weight, a dozen photos, and then she waited. 6 weeks later, a box arrived. The cart was black and red, built like a little chariot, thick rubber wheels, padded harness, adjustable frame. Megan assembled it on the living room floor while Tank watched her, head tilted, ears perked, deeply suspicious. She strapped him in gently, adjusted the height, stepped back. For a second, nothing happened. Tank just stood there in his new wheels, processing. His front paws shifted, his shoulders tensed, and then, almost like flipping a switch, something clicked. He pushed forward, the wheels rolled, he pushed again, faster, then faster. He bolted across the living room like a freight train. Megan burst into tears laughing. He crashed into the couch, reversed, spun himself in 2 full circles, then charged back the other direction, knocking a throw pillow off the armchair and absolutely not caring. The other dogs scattered. Megan pressed herself against the wall. Tank was a wheeled missile of pure, uncaged joy. Would you have cried watching that? Because honestly, how could you not? From that day forward, Tank's whole world expanded. Morning walks down the sidewalk, trips to the dog park where he'd zoom figure eights while the other dogs looked genuinely confused. Weekend visits to the local farmer's market where strangers would stop mid-step, stare, then immediately crouch down to say hello. He became something of a local legend. But It's the quiet moments that get Megan the most. The evenings when Tank rolls himself over to the couch, plants himself right next to her feet, and sighs that deep, satisfied sigh that only bullies can do. Heavy and warm and completely content. She reaches down and scratches behind his ear. He closes his eyes, and in that moment, there's nothing broken about him. There's nothing missing. There's just a dog who fought to be here, and a woman who refused to give up on him, and a little red and black cart that gave them both something they didn't know they needed: a new beginning. Tank still has hard days. His care routine is intensive. Megan assists him with bathroom needs, monitors pressure sores, adjusts his harness as his muscles strengthen. It's not easy. It was never meant to be easy, but she says it every time someone asks. He gives me more than I could ever give him. That's what love does. It doesn't ask if the circumstances are perfect. It just shows up every single day, on 4 wheels if it has to. People ask Megan sometimes, strangers on the internet mostly, why she chose Tank, why a paralyzed dog, why the hard road. She never gets defensive about it. She just smiles and says the same thing every time. He chose me first. And maybe that's the thing about dogs like Tank, the ones the world writes off, the ones left on roadsides, surrendered at shelters, passed over 100 times by 100 people who wanted something easier. They don't hold any of it against you. There's no bitterness in them, no walls. They just love, completely, immediately, without condition, as if the hardest parts of their life never happened at all. Tank doesn't know he's supposed to be broken. He never got that memo. Every morning he wakes up and the world is new, and Megan is there, and the wheels are ready, and that is simply enough. There's a lesson in that. A quiet, stubborn, 4-wheeled lesson that most of us spend a lifetime trying to learn. Some days when Megan is tired, really tired, the kind of tired that gets into your bones, she looks at Tank and something loosens in her chest. Because here is this dog who had every reason to give up and simply didn't. And if he can do it, so can she. So can you. If Tank's story stayed with you, share it with one person who needs a reminder that love shows up in unexpected ways. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. There are so many more stories waiting. Which dog in your life has changed you the most? Drop their name in the comments. Tank wants to know.